A natural disaster is a major adverse event resulting from natural processes of the earth. Examples include floods, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, and other geological processes. A natural disaster can cause loss of life or property damage and typically leaves some economic damage in its wake, the severity of which depends on the affected population's resilience or the ability to recover. In 2012, there were 905 natural catastrophes worldwide, 93% of which were weather-related disasters. Overall costs for US dollars 170 billion and incurred losses were US dollars 70 billion. 2012 was a moderate year. 45% were meteorological, that is storms, 36% were hydrological, that is floods, 12% were climatological, heat waves, cold waves, droughts, wildfires, and 7% were geophysical events, which were earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Between 1980 and 2011, geophysical events accounted for 14% of all natural catastrophes. Avalanches. An avalanche, also called a snowslide or snow slip, is a rapid flow of snow down a sloping surface. Avalanches are typically triggered in a starting zone from a mechanical failure in a snowpack, that is called slab avalanche, when the forces on the snow exceeds its strength, but sometimes only with gradually widening loose slow avalanche. After initiation, avalanches usually accelerate rapidly and grow in mass and volume as they entertain more snow. If the avalanche moves fast enough, some of the snow may mix with the air, forming a powder snow avalanche. Avalanches are most common during winter or spring, but glacier movements may cause ice and snow avalanches at any time of the year. In mountainous terrain, avalanches are among the most serious objective natural hazards to life and property, with their destructive capability resulting from their potential to carry enormous masses of snow at high speeds. A powder snow avalanche during World War I, an estimated 40,000 to 80,000 soldiers died as a result of avalanches during the mountain campaign in the Alps at the Australian-Italian front, many of them which were caused by artillery fire. Earthquakes. An earthquake is a result of a sudden release of energy in the Earth's crust that creates seismic waves. At the Earth's surface, earthquakes manifest themselves by vibration, shaking and sometimes displacement of the ground. The vibrations may vary in magnitude. Earthquakes are caused mostly by slippage within geological faults, but also by other events such as volcanic activity, landslides, mine blasts and nuclear tests. Some of the most significant earthquakes in recent times include the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake, the third largest earthquake recorded in history, registering a moment magnitude of 9.1 to 9.3. The huge tsunamis triggered by this earthquake killed at least 229,000 people. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami registered a moment magnitude of 9. The death toll from the earthquake and tsunami is over 13,000 and over 12,000 people are still missing. The 8.8 magnitude February 27, 2010 Chile earthquake and tsunami cost 525 lives. Volcanic eruptions. Volcanoes can cause widespread destruction and consequent disaster in several ways. The effects include the volcanic eruption itself that may cause harm following the explosion of volcano or the fall of rock. Second, lava may be produced during the eruption of a volcano. As it leaves the volcano, the lava destroys many buildings and plants it encounters. Third, volcanic ash, generally meaning the cooled ash, may form a cloud and settle thickly in nearby locations. When mixed with water, this forms a concrete-like material. In sufficient quantity, ash may cause roofs to collapse under its weight, but even small quantities will harm humans if inhaled. Since the ash has the consistency of ground glass, it contains abrasion damage to moving parts such as engines. The main killer of humans in the immediate surroundings of a volcanic eruption is a proclastic flows, which consists of a cloud of hot volcanic ash which builds up in the air above the volcano and rushes down the slopes when the eruption no longer supports the lifting of the gases. It is believed that Pompeii was destroyed by a proclastic flow. A lahar is a volcanic mud flow or a landslide. In 1953, Tangiwai disaster was caused by a lahar, as was the 1985 Armero tragedy, in which the town of Armero was buried and estimated 23,000 people were killed. It is a violent, sudden and destructive change either in quality of Earth's water or in distribution or movement of water on land, below the surface or in the atmosphere. Floods. A flood is an overflow of an expanse of water that submerges land. Flooding may result from the volume of water within a body of water, such as a river or lake, which overflows or break leaves, with the result that some of the water escapes its usual boundaries. Some of the most notable floods include the 1998 Yangtze River floods in China left 14 million people homeless. The 2000 Mozambique flood covered much of the country for 3 weeks, resulting in thousands of deaths and leaving the country devastated for years afterward. The 2005 Mumbai floods, which killed 1,094 people. The 2010 Pakistan floods directly affected about 20 million people, mostly by displacement, destruction of crops, infrastructure, property and livelihood, with a death toll close to 2,000. Limnic eruptions. A limnic eruption occurs when a gas, usually carbon dioxide, suddenly erupts from deep water lake, posing the threat of suffocating wildlife, livestock and humans. Such an eruption may also cause tsunamis in the lake as the rising gas displaces water. Scientists believe that landslides, volcanic activity or explosions can trigger such an eruption. To date, only 2 limnic eruptions have been observed and recorded. In 1984, Cameroon, a limnic eruption in Lake Monaun caused the deaths of 37 nearby residents. At a nearby lake Nyos in 1986, a much larger eruption killed between 1,700 and 1,800 people by asphyxiation. Tsunami. Tsunami is a series of water waves caused by the displacement of large volume of body of water, generally an ocean or a large lake. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions and other underwater explosions, including detonations of underwater nuclear devices, landslides, meteorite impacts and other disturbances above or below water, all have the potential to create a tsunami. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake created the Boxing Day tsunami. On March 11, 2011, a tsunami occurred near Fukushima, Japan and spread through the Pacific. Blizzards. Blizzards are severe winter storms characterized by heavy snow and strong winds. When high winds stir up snow that have already fallen, it is known as a ground blizzard. Blizzards can impact local economic activities, especially in regions where snowfall is rare. Significant blizzards include the Great Blizzard of 1888 in the United States, in which many tons of wheat crops were destroyed. The 2008 Afghanistan blizzard. The 1972 Iran blizzard resulted in approximately 4,000 deaths and lasted for 5 to 7 days. Cyclonic storms, tropical cyclones. Different names for the same phenomenon of a cyclonic storm system that forms over oceans. The deadliest hurricane was ever in 1970 the Bhola cyclone. The deadliest Atlantic hurricane was the Great Hurricane of 1780, which devastated Martinique, St. Eustatius and Barbados. Another notable hurricane is Hurricane Katrina, which devastated the Gulf Coast of United States in 2005. Extratropical cyclones. Extratropical cyclones, sometimes called mid-latitude cyclones, are a group of cyclones defined as synoptic scale low-pressure weather systems that occur in the middle latitudes of Earth, which is usually outside the tropics, not having connected with fronts and horizontal gradients in temperature and dew point, otherwise known as baroclinic zones. The most intense extratropical cyclones cause widespread disruption and damage to society, such as the storm surge of North Sea flood of 1953, which killed 2,251 people in Netherlands and eastern England. The Great Storm of 1987, which devastated southern England and France, and the Columbus Day Storm of 1962, which struck the Pacific Northwest. Droughts. Drought is unusual dryness of soil resulting in crop failure and shortage of water for other uses, caused by significantly lower rainfall than average over a prolonged period. Hot, dry winds, high temperatures and consequent evaporation of moisture from the ground can contribute to conditions of drought. A well-known historic droughts include 1900 in India, killing between 2,50,000 to 3.25 million. The 1997 to 2009 millennium drought in Australia led to a water supply crisis across much of the country. As a result, many desalination plants were built for the first time. In 2006, Sichuan province, China, experienced its worst drought in modern times, where nearly 8 million people and over 7 million cattle facing water shortages. A 12-year drought was devastating southwestern Australia, southeast South Australia, Victoria and northern Tasmania with very severe and without historical precedent. In 2011, the state of Texas lived under a drought emergency declaration for the entire calendar year. The drought caused the Bastrop fires. Hailstorms. Hailstorms are falls of raindrops that arrive as ice rather than melting before they hit the ground. A particularly damaging hailstorm hit Munich, Germany on July 12, 1984, causing about $2 billion in insurance claims. Heat waves. A heat wave is a period of unusually and excessively hot weather. The worst heat wave in recent history was the European heat wave of 2003. A summer heat wave in Victoria, Australia created conditions which fueled the massive bushfires in 2009. Melbourne experienced 3 days in a row of temperatures exceeding 40 degrees centigrade, with some regional areas sweltering through much higher temperatures. The bushfires, collectively known as Black Saturday, were partly the act of arsonists. Tornadoes. An exceptionally clearly developed single-cell cumulonimbus incus big displaying classic anvil shape. Associated gusts may occur from the direct proximity to several times the height of the cloud. This is an example of a tornado. A tornado is typically a violent, dangerous, rotating column of air that is in contact with both the surface of the earth and the cumulonimbus cloud, or in rare cases, the base of a cumulus cloud. It is also referred to as a twister or a cyclone, although the word cyclone is used in meteorology in a wider sense to refer to any closed low-pressure circulation. Tornadoes come in many shapes and sizes, but are typically in the form of visible condensation funnel, whose narrow end touches the earth and is often encircled by a cloud of debris and dust. Most tornadoes have wind speeds less than 110 miles per hour, that is 177 kilometers per hour, are approximately 250 feet or 80 meters across and travel a few miles, that is several kilometers, before dissipating. The most extreme tornadoes can attain wind speeds of more than 300 miles per hour, which is 480 kilometers per hour, stretch more than 2 miles across and stay on the ground for dozens of miles, perhaps more than 100 kilometers. Well-known historical tornadoes include the Tri-State Tornado of 1925, which killed over 600 people in the United States. The Daulatpur Saturia Tornado of 1989, which killed roughly 1,300 people in Bangladesh. Wildfires. Wildfires are large fires which often start in wildland areas. Common causes include lightning and drought, but wildfires may also be started by human negligence or arson. They can spread to populated areas and thus can be a threat to humans and property as well as wildlife. Notable cases of wildlife were the 1871 Peshtigo fire in the United States, which killed at least 1,700 people, and the 2009 Victorian bushfires in Australia. Epidemics. An epidemic is an outbreak of a contactable disease that spreads through a human population. A pandemic is an epidemic whose spread is global. There have been many epidemics throughout history, such as the Black Death. In the last 100 years, significant pandemics includes the 2002 and 3 SARS pandemic, the AIDS pandemic beginning in 1959, the H1N1 influenza, which was commonly known as swine flu pandemic in 2009 and 2010. Space disasters. Fallen trees caused by the Tunguska meteoroid of the Tunguska event in June 1908 is an example of a space disaster. Solar flare. A solar flare is a phenomenon where the sun suddenly releases a great amount of solar radiation, much more than normal. Some known solar flakes include an X20 event on August 16, 1989. A similar flare on April 2, 2001. The most powerful flare ever recorded on November 4, 2003, estimated at between X40 and X45. Gamma ray burst. Gamma ray bursts, known as GRBs, are flashes of gamma rays associated with extremely energetic explosions that have been observed in distant galaxies. They are the brightest electromagnetic events known to occur in the universe. Bursts can last from 10 milliseconds to several minutes. The initial burst is usually followed by a longer-lived afterglow emitted at longer wavelengths, that is, the X-ray, ultraviolet, optical, infrared, microwave and radio waves. All the bursts astronomers have recorded so far have come from distant galaxies and have been harmless to Earth. But if one occurred within our galaxy and were aimed it straight at us, the effects could be devastating. Currently, orbiting satellites detect an average of about 1 gamma ray burst per day. The closest known GRB so far was GRB 031203. International law, for example, Geneva Conventions defines International Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement of Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities requires that states shall take in accordance with their obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law and international humanitarian rights law, all necessary measures to ensure the protection and safety of persons with disabilities in a situation of risk, including the occurrence and natural disaster. And further, United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs is formed by General Assembly Resolution 44/182. People displaced due to natural disasters are currently protected under international law, which is the guiding principles of international displacement, Kampala Convention of 2009. Thus, natural disasters are extreme sudden events caused by environmental factors that injure people and damage property. It includes events such as tornadoes, hurricanes, flood, earthquakes, wildfires and tsunamis. And often these events are unexpected, sudden and overwhelming. To conclude with, even when you're not hurt physically, disasters can take a serious emotional toll. Normal reactions include intense unpredictable feelings, flashbacks, trouble concentrating or making decisions, disrupted eating and sleeping patterns, emotional upsets on our anniversaries or other reminders, strained personal relationships and physical symptoms such as headaches, nausea or chest pain. Recognizing an impending hazard and to know what to do to protect yourself and your family will help you take effective steps to be prepared beforehand and aid recovery of an event. Natural disasters such as flood, fire, earthquake, tornado and windstorm affect thousands of people every year. You should know what your risks are and prepare to protect yourself, your family and community. It is very important that you recognize an impending hazard and knowingly what to do to protect yourself and your family will help you take effective steps to prepare beforehand and aid recovery after the event. Some of the things you can do to prepare for an unexpected, such as assembling a supply kit and developing a family emergency plan, are the same for all types of hazards. However, each emergency is unique and knowing the actions to take for each threat will impact the specific decisions and preparations you make.